So welcome to Couples Talk. Today we are looking at how can you plan your future as a couple. My name is Joshua. I'm here with my beautiful wife Charlene, and we want to talk to you about how can you plan for your future as a couple. I believe planning for your future could bring you a sense of joy, a new sense of purpose, and it could really guide you through the hills and valleys that we may experience over time. So, we want to share some exercises that will help guide you through this journey of planning your future together. We also want to discuss why is it important to plan your future as a couple. So, the first topic we're going to be looking at is discuss your goals for each other. I like that, Charlie. And not just discuss your goals with each other, but discuss your goals for each other. I like that. Why did you choose that topic? Well, why discuss your goals for each other?
The thing about it is because we're a team and we're working together, and the goals that you would have set with each other or the goals that you have in mind should benefit the other person as well. So when we say for each other, it means that whatever it is I would like to do in the future, or what I would like to see come out of this relationship, I want it to benefit Joshua as well. So that's why I said for each other, not to each other or with each other, because whatever benefits me must benefit him and vice versa.
You know, I'm excited about this topic. You know that, Charlie. As we were preparing for this topic, I got excited. I think I'm excited about it because I know a lot of people don't do it.
Yeah.
And I think I really wanted to share the epiphany I got when we really started to do this. It gave us a sense of energy. This is the perspective I want you to have for a second. When we get busy, we get into a routine. Time flies. You look and you can't believe 5, 10 years is already passed. The kids are starting to grow. Maybe you were excited, they were in kindergarten, now they're growing, they're in primary school, they're in high school.
Plan to go to college.
You're just going around in a circle day after day. You're just trying to pay the bills, you're just trying to make sure you put food on the table, buy their school clothes, and you're just going around in a circle. And your only plan is, how do I deal with tomorrow? After a while, you could look back and wonder, what have I been doing? What is our marriage really about? And you have no real sense of where are we going. And it's not to say your life is in a bad place, but it's just not exciting. It's just, it don't give you that butterfly feeling you had when you started and you got married. What happened? But I want to ask you, do you have a goal and a plan together that makes you get excited in the morning? Is there something that makes you look forward to tomorrow? And if not, it's probably because we haven't really discussed what are our goals for each other, not just for tomorrow, not just what we're going to eat tomorrow, but the things that gives us a sense of joy and passion, the things that maybe as you were growing up is something you wanted to do, but you put aside because you got married, there's kids, there's just different responsibility, and you just told yourself, I just don't have time for that, or I just can't afford that, I just don't know when I'll be able to do that. We're saying, if you are able to crystallize those things today, and it don't have to be 20 years into the future, it could be a year or 5 years. I just believe it creates a new perspective that allows you to get through some of the bad days. So talk to me about this, Charlotte. how can we use the idea of discussing our goals for each other so that it could really bring us together and give us a sense of joy? What is the strategy here you would like to share with our viewers or listeners?
When we're talking about discussing goals, most persons would think, what do you mean by goals? And goals could be anything, could be plan to have children, plan to travel, plan to build a house, or planning not to build a house, maybe live on a cruise ship. Who knows? Planning for retirement. But these are all goals. And sometimes when we think about it, we think, I have no money, so I can't plan. But it doesn't matter if you have $1 million or a dollar. You can plan anything, you can strategize anything. Anything you can plan once it is both of you come together and make those commitment to do it. Now, in terms of planning goals, you have different stages you can go through or different phases which it is you can establish different goals. So there's short-term goals. Now, short-term goals could be something like maybe what restaurant we're going to eat when the borders and everything is lifted,
Or having a date night,
or having a date
you
night.
know,
You
a
plan
time
a
to,
weekly
yeah.
date night, or even driving around the island, doing like a weekly visit, see something you have never seen before. Those are short-term goals, those are things that things that you never thought you could do and you need to make time for. Those are simple things. You could do that weekly, monthly. Those are short-term goals. Both of you have agreed to establish that together. And then we have medium term goals. No, that could be between say 6 months to 12 months, maybe a year and a half. But those are things that you see yourself doing within 6 months, say that you can't do right now. Give us an example of something.
I just think family vacation. You
Family
know, you
vacation.
want to be able to go somewhere different with your family, and you want to plan for that. It's going to be something where you're saying the kids are going to be out of school. We want to organize our vacation a particular way. We need to save up and secure some foreign exchange. If we're traveling from Trinidad, we got to make sure we plan for foreign exchange, make sure we have a credit card, make sure we're saved up for it. So you want to be able to plan for that, something that's going to bring you a sense of purpose. Maybe it's going to be to do something new to the car. Maybe we want to enhance the car a bit, get something nice for the car, maybe upgrade the seats in the car or something of that nature. Something that we just can't get right away, but we want to be able to plan for that.
Well, I also want to interject and add, he said, taking a trip, foreign exchange. Now, some places might be saying, but we don't have any money for that. No, for those who live in Trinidad and Tobago, we have beautiful places to visit in both islands. So if you're in Tobago, you could plan a weekend or weekend Trinidad. There's so many places you can visit in Trinidad. You'll be surprised. You spend a week in Trinidad, you swear you went to a foreign island for a vacation. And then those in Trinidad, you could come across Tobago. There's the beaches, there's the rivers, there's the forts, there's different activities you can do. You can come across, relax, have a bonding experience. It doesn't cost you as much. You could rent a villa, a guest house. You could plan with your family, maybe cook some food, buy some food out and things. So it's not as costly, but it's still a vacation, a mini vacation where you could still have fun. So you don't need to be rich. You don't need to have $1 million. You just need to plan, focus, and decide this is the time you're going to be together where work is not involved. And trust me, you don't have to go to England just to have a great time. You could be right here and have a wonderful vacation.
And even if you're in England, there are just some smaller things that you could do as a family, even if it might mean, renting a one of those RV and being able to go out with your family and to just do something that's going to bring you together. The idea is if you're able to know that this is something that we want to do together, it somehow galvanizes and it makes the days easier to get along. And then we have long-term goals, things you want to do 5 years or farther into the future. And you really want to be able to think about how am I going to get there. Maybe your spouse wanted to finish their education and you don't necessarily have the means to do it now, but you could plan towards that to say, sweetheart, I want you to go back and finish your degree. I want you to go back and finish your diploma, whatever it might be. It might be that we want to move from a renting situation to have our own home. But before you even get to a mortgage, you may have to prepare for certain things. You might have to get the down payment, things like that. And you may want to then be able to say, hey, this is our goal.
In
This is
five
what we want
years,
to
in
do.
10 years.
Yeah.
No, you might not be able to accomplish it in 5 years, maybe 10 years. You can still plan for the 10-year mark or say, okay, in 10 years, you're going to have enough money to make that down payment to start building. So don't feel overwhelmed and think that you have to do it within 5 years. You just need to plan. And when you're planning, I just don't mean talk about it and forget. I literally mean you're going to get a book, you're going to get a notepad, you're going to get one of those vision boards, you're going to stick it up on the wall in an area somewhere that you can visualize. If you don't have enough space, you use that notebook and you're going to literally document the discussion, the days that you had this discussion, and you're going to reflect on it. For the short-term goals, you're going to look back and say, did we accomplish this? Why didn't we accomplish it? How can we fix it so we can accomplish it? Medium-term goals, the same thing. Why didn't we take the vacation? Oh, I was working, but we planned it. You were supposed to take vacation so we could go on this trip. How can we revitalize and change that modus operandi? Because you need vacation to bring rejuvenation to the relationship. And then the long-term goals, the 5 years, the retirement plans. I don't have plenty money. It's better you have $10,000 put aside when you reach 60 than you have no money at all.
Sure.
It's better you plan for something because we all know retirement that you're going to get from the government is not going to be as much anyway. So you need supplementary funding. So you need to plan for these things. And as I said, don't feel overwhelmed. Take them in stages. And for those who may not have never planned and you think I'm married 10 years or I'm married 5 years and we've never done this, I can't. Start with the short-term goals. Get accustomed to it. Make it a habit and a routine that eventually it becomes easy and comfortable to even go with the bigger goals. So don't think that I can't do it because I'm already married. No waste of time to start. You are married. If you're not married and you're watching, then you know that there's something that you can plan before you get married. So at least you know where you're going because you don't have to wait to get married to do it. At least the good thing now is that you could plan before it because planning is always key to success.
Do you have a question? Do you have a comment? Share it in the comment section. Thank you, Derek, for that comment. I mean, the reality is it's never too late for planning. There's one exercise Charlene and I did some years ago that just really just turned on the bell for us. Each of us took a piece of paper and we both challenged each other to write 10 things that we would like to do at some point in our life. 10 things that inspires us, 10 things that is a goal. It's just something that we're passionate about. And then after we wrote that down, we exchanged it and compared it. There were some things that was unique to each of us, and we took note of that. The things that was in both of our lists are the things that we really circled on because it definitely meant it's something that we were both excited about. And so Charlene said, I think I'm jumping ahead, but hopefully when we get there, we know we discuss that one. And what that did, like for example, both of us had traveling on our list, and we then recognized we're both passionate about traveling. So we set certain goals to travel at certain points in time in our career, and then we made sure that we set aside a particular item for that. But we will get to that. It seems Charlie said I'm jumping ahead. And we want to share a Bible text as it relates to this. As many of you that are watching us know, we are Christian and we believe that God plays a part in our marriage, and it's something that is going to help even strengthen your marriage more than anything. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the thoughts that I think towards you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace, not of evil, to give you an expected end." God has great expectations for you. And we would want to simply align our expectations with God and not to plan for each other and to want the best for your spouse. And that's why this point said, discuss your goals for each other. You want to be able to know you are helping your spouse to accomplish the things that they wanted to do in life. And if you both be each other's cheerleader, it gives you a sense of passion and support. It gets you through the tough time. And there's a caveat here, and I want to say this. It is hard to do this when you're in a bad place in your marriage. So we're not trying to be naive to say this kumbaya experience, we're not necessarily in a good place and we're not planning our future. We're not saying that at all. We're saying that if you're in a good place, it's a great time to start. If you're in a bad place, it's amazing how this might give you an opportunity to jumpstart your relationship, because it might be that one person in the relationship have not been feeling fulfilled, or maybe both in some respect. And doing this exercise where both of you is kind of writing down your goals might give each other a perspective that somebody might have been overlooking or missing, and give you an opportunity to kind of just reboot the relationship in some respect. Number two says, keep in mind that you need some money for retirement, children's education, vacation. So plan accordingly. Talk to us about this, Charlotte. What do you mean by this?
It means that many times we don't plan. We don't think about retirement. I've seen cases even recently where persons are up for retirement, they're 60, 61, they have to leave the job and they're upset because no one is thinking about them. But they have a good job, they had a good position, but they never plan for that retirement. So now they're overwhelmed because what are they going to do when they go home because they have no money saved up? Now you might be saying, but I can't plan, I can't save, I make minimum wage. Okay, so you make $3,000 a month. So you're trying to tell me that all the coins that fell around the house and every dollar in your purse, you can't take a dollar or $5 literally and put it aside? My mother did a dollar, $5, and just put it in that purse. Say, I'm going to commit $5 every month or every week and put it aside. And after a while, you're going to feel excited when you look back and say, wait, I actually saved that amount of money. You're going to increase it because now you're excited. And that is going to give you energy to keep on saving and planning. And then you could even open a little account somewhere, Roy Train, Unit Trust, and put it there where it builds some interest and that gives you some excitement now. Because I remember I had money in Roy Train for years and I forgot about it. And I went back, I was like, wait, where did all that money come from? It was building interest and I didn't even remember. So these kind of things that you're thinking about retirement. And then you have children's education, where you're thinking, okay, maybe you can't afford for them to go to a private school or go away to a fancy university. But simple things you can do for them while they're going through their first 18 years of life, where you kind of motivate them in terms of the educational pattern. So you encourage them to be good at it. So even when they reach the 18, they can even take the time and appreciate it, even if they have to find the funding. So you might not be able to afford it, but if you can plan for it, set up an education fund. But if you can, at least teach them to value education, that they will look forward to doing something more with their lives. And then we have vacation, and we mentioned before the short term and medium term goals. You can plan for vacation. Everyone needs a vacation. As I said, take a drive somewhere, go across the islands, just go somewhere, relax for a few days, even if you can't leave the country. Because trust me, you need to rejuvenate mentally, and that will actually help you. There are other goals you can plan for as we talk about building a house, maybe somebody wants to build an apartment. Those are things you need to be strategic about. And you see, once it is you document and write down all these things, it makes it easier for you to plan for because you know what it is you're planning for. But if you don't have anything written down, you can't plan because you don't know what it is you plan to do tomorrow. And as I said, if you write down in this book or put it up on a vision board, every time you look in the book or you look at the vision board, it reminds you, wait, I need to really do this action to get closer to my goal. And you and your spouse working together say, hey, what are we going to do different to reach that particular goal? So yeah.
So I have a question for you. Are you planning for retirement? Let us know in the comments. If not, what is your biggest challenge in respect to planning for retirement as a couple? So let us know in the comments. If you're not planning, what's the biggest challenge? If you are, what options are you using for planning for retirement? Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all And verse 6 says, in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. No matter how difficult it might seem, allow God to guide you in the direction. You may not be able to see, how am I going to be able to plan for retirement? But God is taking care of the lilies of the valley, he's taking care of the birds of the field, and we are his children, so he will take care of us. So that's not to say we should have no plan, but just know, even in the lack of resources, God will take care of us as we move forward. Number 3,
Write down any specific wishes or desires you may have regarding your future life together. Example, owning a home.
All right, so we started talking about this, and I'm a huge fan about having a goal that's big enough to pull you forward. It's not to say we shouldn't have the things we want to do today and so forth, but I believe you need something
To challenge
to
you.
challenge you. You need something that's going to make you recognize that money there is not mine. When someone calls you and say, "Hey, can I borrow $5,000?" That $10,000 you have in the bank is not for, is not to be touched. That's your future. That's that thing that you decided together. You know what, sweetheart, I need us to have an apartment for retirement. That's going to be our retirement. So that money that we need to build for that plot of land we need to purchase, and we have a cousin that could help us build, and we already have this idea of how we're going to build that. Or maybe it's a restaurant. You know, we have a passion for cooking, and we decide we're going to have a restaurant where we could
Or
could do so.
you have a
Well,
passion.
I have a
Yeah,
passion
he
for
has
cooking,
a passion
right?
for cooking.
So maybe it's going to be that we're going to build a restaurant.
And
So
you cook and I'll count the money.
definitely.
Yeah.
So when you start to put aside for that, you don't touch it. You know what it is. You understand why you're doing it, and you kind of almost forget about it. So when persons are saying that I need help or I need this, you can't touch it. That is why you should always be thinking you need an emergency fund. We recommend that you should have an account that allows you, if there's an emergency that happens, that's where you pull it from. You don't take it from your big goal plan. And an account, a credit union, a bank account, or so forth, it's not that difficult anymore to create. So having several accounts and giving them a purpose is a really good strategy to help you avoid spending aimlessly and
Well,
don't
let's
understand.
clarify. We're not talking about opening a regular savings account which takes out money every month. We're talking about an account that builds interest. So please note, not a regular account where you have a card and then they charge you every month and then you lose money. Not those type of account. Those that will build interest and that will force you not to tap into it too easily.
Yeah, right. And that each would have its strategy, so you'll understand what we're doing there. So make a list of each of these and share with each other, and all must be discussed and even have compromises if these goals differ. And we were joking about this earlier. Huh? I mean, you may have made your individual list the things you're passionate about. And I was telling them, maybe as a guy, I'm saying, hey, I want to have a threesome. And maybe that's one that I'm gonna have to compromise on because Charlie don't want to share.
Jesus said, don't share.
All right. So we might have to compromise there.
Yes, exactly.
Right. So there's gonna be some things on each other's lists that might not work. And you may have to say, no, I can do something else, but that's not gonna work well for us. So be prepared to compromise. There might be some things that you want to do that may not work for each other for whatever the case may
Or
be.
it might be timing. Maybe I might have a goal that could be done in a short-term period, and he might have a goal that could be done in a long-term period. So we can accomplish both, but at different times.
Right? So it's important that we can be able to compromise as much as possible. The fourth one,
Set aside time every week to focus on planning. Maybe even create a planning date once a month where you spend time focusing on this task alone and enjoying yourselves while doing so. So you could get some non-alcoholic wine. Don't say I told you to get wine, so non-alcoholic for, yeah. If you want to get your spirits, that's up to you. And you can sit down, pour out a glass, and you sit down and you talk, you chit chat, and talk about the different goals, and we sip a wine, we click our glasses. Yeah, we still have our glasses, we click our glass, or non-alcoholic wine, and we sip and we click. I don't want the people and them having this misconception that we drinking alcohol.
So what if I want to get
the non-alcoholic wine that we click and take.
Nobody's there, the pastor's not around, we
Watch
just
now. You try your best, eh? We don't want the people to think we're drinking alcohol, so the non-alcoholic wine.
So in doing this will help you to keep your mind on the target and on your goals together. As I said, it's an opportunity really to energize you and recognizing that, hey, we really want to get certain things done. If it's maybe your trip you're looking forward to, it helps you get through some of the tough days, the days that you really don't understand, why the days are so tough. It's either with the kids, and that's when things are tough. Then you can look forward to that vacation that you're planning. Is that getaway that you're planning? What is going to happen, when the kids leave the house? There's a lot of time,
Emptiness
a,
syndrome
a
and
a
no
lot of
plan.
families just die when the kids leave, because so much of their life
Has been revolved
has
around the
just been
children.
a revolve around make sure the kids get to school, making sure the kids get this, making sure, and you as each other don't really have a life anymore. And so when the kids do leave, it's two strangers looking at each other in the house, and that's not what God wants for your relationship.
Because he gave your spouse, children, an extension of your marriage. So please note that. Don't tell your husband the children first. No, no, no. God gave you to each other. The children, an extension of that. They're borrowed. So after 18, 19, they leave. Who you're left with, the spouse that God gave you. Focus on your spouse, people.
So this is not for you to choose. We were just
You don't have
saying,
a choice. That's what God
yeah,
said.
we're just saying, don't forget each other. Don't take it for granted, and just don't assume it's understood that we're making the sacrifice. You should not
You
have
don't
to.
have to make the sacrifice.
It just takes some work. Just plan to make sure that you're giving each other the attention that you deserve. The fifth one is one that I didn't embrace until I guess a little later in our marriage. Creating a budget
With the tea.
and sticking to it. Did I miss something?
Where's the tea?
Oh, I made an error there. So creating a budget. So let me correct that so that we're
You
seeing
might
that.
forget the tea. Create a
All right,
budget.
create a budget together and stick to it.
So create a budget.
Yes, my type of this. So creating a budget and sticking to it. Um, Talk to us there, Charlie.
All right. So when we're talking about a budget, as I said, plenty persons like to say, "I don't make $1 million. I don't make $10,000. I don't make 5,000. I can't budget." You can budget with any amount of money. You need to write down. I have $3,000. I have $2,000. How much is my rent? How much is this? How much is that? And then you plan and move forward. Then you spend because you know what it is. I know what it helps you do. It helps you avoid spending on unnecessary things. I've had a situation where someone was upset, they're a public servant, and they find the government should give them a grant. So I'm like, but you work for the government? Yes. So you're still employed? Yes. And then they tell me, oh, I can't, I'm having trouble getting onto the phone. I have a S-Note 20. You have a S-Note 20, but you want a grant. Priorities. Some things you just don't need. I know sometimes I get a little harsh here, but it upsets me because they're actually legitimately hungry people out there. But you're not budgeting properly and upset that somebody's going to give you extra because you're not planning properly. Sit down, write down what it is. Some things you just don't need. You can survive it. You can have fun with the little that you have. Just plan around it. I remember my mother always taught us, don't envy the neighbor for what they have. You don't know what they're doing at night and what devil tail they're pulling. So enjoy the moments what you had. So we had little and we were contented. We enjoyed it. We had fun. So when things got better for us, we were able to enjoy even what we had because we're so accustomed planning and budgeting. Because you have little, so enjoy the little. So when we got plenty, we enjoy the plenty too, but we still plan and we still budget. So you can budget with any amount of money. And some things you just don't need. Don't worry about what other people have. You focus on what you have and make the best of what you have. Yes, I got passionate. I'm sorry.
I want to answer Monique's question just before we dive into the last two. So Monique, is it okay if I put your question up on the screen? Just let me know. Just send me a message in the chat. So I don't know if you just want me to read it and we can address it, or can I put it up on the screen? Just let me know in the chat while we look at it. So I'll read it for now. So Monica asks, but if the list differs in such a great way that it can indicate you have different paths and probably um, you should not be together at all. And not just here talking about if you're married yet, but let's assume that you're planning, and this was just an exercise that you
Oh, I
decided
would
to
love
do,
to answer.
right? So
I
go
would
ahead,
love to
Sean.
answer. Okay, so first we're going to talk about if you're married. Now, if it is you're married, you already missed that step. So you realize now you both have goals that it's so different. Now, chances are that you need to really sit down and analyze the situation. I'm not going to jump in and say you need to separate or divorce. Chances are you just need to compromise and rework your situation because you might have goals that are unrealistic as well. Because you might be saying, "Oh, I go and build a hotel somewhere," but really and truly, I'm not being I'm not trying to dampen your dreams. They might not really be able to have the money to build a hotel somewhere. So sometimes you can actually compare the list, check it over, decide, okay, what are some of the things we can actually do? What it is we can tweak that can work best for each other. Sometimes we assume nothing can be adjusted or compromised because many times we don't sit to actually truly communicate with our spouse to even get any headway in terms of making an adjustment. If you're not married and your list is so different, then your question might be, why are you going to marry this person if you really think the list is so different? That's the reality of it. Many times we have this glorified idea of marriage is going to solve everything. Marriage highlights all your problems. So don't rush into marriage thinking, oh, I'm going to get married and my problems are going to get so better and he's going to be so wonderful, but he was giving you trouble before and both of you are on two different wavelengths. Be real. If you're on two different wavelengths before you even think to get married, the reality is, why is it you're going forward to get married?
But I think, and I mean, because I think Monica also says, especially let's say you're not a married couple,
But that's
and
what I'm
right.
talking about if you're not
So
married.
and so where I want to come in here is a lot of times, and you said it,
They don't communicate.
we sometimes have unrealistic expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is a perfect place to start the conversation.
Yeah.
Because you may be coming into the relationship with a certain perception of what the other person should be or what the other person should bring.
Mm-hmm.
And you might be missing some real qualities that is in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Because some person comes into marriage with a predefined list of what their spouse should be. And sometimes when you look at the list, it has some superficial things that really doesn't speak to the core of what somebody is able to bring to the relationship.
No, but here's the even hard part with it. Many times you have an unrealistic list, but you're being unrealistic with yourself because you're not even bringing half to the table to match the list that you're presenting anyway. So you're being on. So the person now might notice it, may not say it outright. So now they'll be resentful to you because they're saying, "Well, you know better than I am. So who do you think you are?" So you've already created more conflict because you haven't been real with each other.
Right? So there is no one there is no one scenario that fits here, but I think it's a perfect opportunity to have a real conversation because
Communication
I
is
find
key.
before I
Many times
find
we don't communicate. See that deep communication when you bare your soul to that person, we fail to do it. We like to do it on a superficial level. And then we assume the person should understand and interpret the signs. No, bare your soul. If you can't bare your soul to your spouse or the person you plan to marry, trust me, you're going to have bigger problems.
and you there are times, especially before we get married, we don't have difficult conversations because for some reason during this phase we overlook everything because we have this the love bug and everything. I mean, we just overlook all the flaws and everything, and we don't be honest with ourselves, and we're not
Yeah,
honest
many
with
times that
persons.
is the problem. We don't literally share how we feel. You know, sometimes, as he mentions, the unrealistic goals, all these different things. So we're going through the motion, hoping changes will take place without actually saying what it is I would like and what I would like to present to the table as well. I know someone said don't mention the stable thing, but many times we have this unrealistic goal for the person. But what are you offering in the relationship? What is it you think that you can give to this person here should you marry them?
All right. So we may not have answered that question in its entirety,
Well,
but what I would
if we did not, Monique, let us know. Maybe we could clarify it for you. Hopefully.
yeah, but I guess what we wanted to say here is that for one, it's a great place to start. And if you're able to have that conversation, it's an excellent opportunity for you to really see if you and this person just have a difference of opinion or you have difference of culture, philosophy, and you're actually unequally yoked, not just from a spiritual perspective, but you could be unequally yoked
in every aspect,
from a personality, from
financial, um,
character. Yeah, and
character.
these are things that are to your
Mhm.
core that you don't. Someone should not be forcing you to be a different person for marriage. One of the things when we were getting married that the pastor told me, for example, and I think it was important for men to hear that, because a lot of men, well, I think women too, are thinking that I'm marrying this person, they're not where I want them to be, but I could work on that. You know, and I could work on that. Yeah, I could. And he told me, accept the version of Charlene you're getting today as the best version you're gonna get. And love her for who she is today. If you get more, consider it a bonus, but don't look and expect and work towards it. And if you can't accept her is this version today, then don't marry her. And I didn't listen that hard enough. It took me years to appreciate that. And because for many years I tried to change Charlene. Charlene is a late rise, I'm an early rise, and I'm stressing her to try to get up early and to do these things. And
Because apparently I need to go out and feed chickens.
so we need to be able to get to a point with the persons that we're at, that we really able to work together and to be able to get so. But just tying off, we're just going to be
No,
wrapping
actually, I
up.
want to just say one thing. Yes, Monique, the many times persons are afraid of the relationship with end, but it's better you deal with that early than in marriage. It becomes a lot more complicated. And there's nothing wrong with being by yourself. Because if you're not complete as an individual, getting married is even worse. You don't get married, as I always remind my clients, you don't get married to be complete. You get married to complement someone. So if you're not whole as a person, trust me, getting married will not solve that problem.
Excellent.
And I'm happy that we answered your question. You're welcome.
All right. And we kind of going over, because we usually try to keep our live about half an hour.
But we answering questions.
But sometimes it goes over, as long as it's okay with you. Budget is one of those things I am passionate about. I am a percent driven budgeter. It's a great way to align each other's expectations. And it's a great way of valuing each other's contribution towards the marriage. This is a ticklish topic with men and women, and depending on what your philosophy is about money and about marriage. When I got married at first, I had this notion that I'm the man, I'm going to provide, and I don't necessarily want my wife to work. And it creates a different perception how you treat money. And even in that way, it's kind of was warped. I control the money, I manage the money, I want to provide. And it was this kind of ego thing in which I thought, even though it came from a good place, I wanted to provide for myself. I wanted to make sure I protect the money and different things. But I had bad habits. I spent more than my wife when I really should have had her more part of that budgeting experience. It took me years to figure that out, and for us to be able to work together and be able to put it all on the table, and we say, this is what I work for, this is what you work for, this is how we want to be able to do this. Having a percentage perspective allows you and force you to adjust things to suit. So for example, this is some of my high level budgeting expectation. If you have kids, you have certain mortgages, things that are like huge expenses, then about 50% of your about 75%, sorry, probably of your revenue probably is going to be going to some level of expenses or so on. That means you should be aiming for 25% of your revenue is going towards certain long-term goals, saving, investments. And I want to use the word investment, not susu, investment. We have to, investment is anything that makes money for you. So if it is, so that's not a savings. That's not putting money in the bank. That's not an investment. That's a savings. And savings over time depreciate, its money lose value. So you want to be able to be planning your investment for things that give you compound interest, things that you, it might be a business. One of the best investments you can make is in yourself. Maybe you could invest in learning a trade and doing a side hustle and being able to use that money to propel and to go to work. That's also an investment. So about 25% you should be trying to put towards some level of investment. If you're not have major expense, you don't have kids yet, or so on, now is a good time to double up on that investment before you get into that. So about 50% of your revenue you want to put in some level of investment. And I say that you might want to break that down, because in the early stage you want to put some money to have an emergency fund, which would mean about 6 months of your expense should be your goal for an emergency fund, which is something that you could cushion. And if something happens, you lose a job, you get a certain illness or something like that, that you could have there. And we could go deeper into it. We did a session on budgeting. We're going to put a link to that in this particular live after we're finished, that you could go back to that session. We also shared the family template that we use for our budgeting, that it goes through some of the percentage and so on. You could go back in our
YouTube.
just go to our website, Vivid Resolutions, and just type in budgeting as a couple, and you'll see that's that live that we did. And we also did a session with our budgeting plan. So we're kind of wrapping up here. So remember, financial planning is always important. It allows you to plan and save accordingly. You may at times need to revise your goals or how you accomplish them by creating avenues for supplemental income and so forth. Having separate accounts, having separate goals for each account, I think is a great way to start, and have a percentage perspective of how each of you contribute to it. But do it together. I know it's tough sometimes. It gets very emotional when we have to decide what we're doing with this money. Somebody, you want to give money to your family, and but we have this goal. So, but you got to compromise. Sit down, go through it. It's better you put it all on the table, and you know what's going to happen. Just as we wrap up, there is one thing that we don't talk about enough, and sometimes we started discussing it. What happens if one of you what happens if one of you die? It's not a romantic topic, but it's probably one of the best gifts you could do for each other, is to have real and honest conversation. Do you have a life insurance? Is it something that you just thought it's not? We'll figure that out when you get there. Maybe you don't have one, or you can't afford maybe one at where you are, but maybe there's a funeral grant you could really have. And it's one of the best gifts you could give your loved one, to make sure that if there's an untimely death,
They're not left with
they're not
expenses.
left with something that, 'cause we never know. And it's something that we think is taboo. We're wishing bad on our spouse or otherwise when we discuss a life insurance or a funeral grant or these kind of things. It's one of the best gifts you could give your spouse, to make sure that if something happens, that you have left them protected. And kids too, do you have something, if something happens to you, that your kids will not have to worry that they can't go to college or they can't get there. In most cases, get one that is going to be valuable to you. Don't just, insurance is like something that persons think is a scam or so forth. But if you get, I would say, someone that really understands financial planning and planning for your future and protecting, it could really get you the position that you could feel comfortable at night when you go to bed, that your family is secured, and whatever you've worked towards is free. The last point, just before we close off, Charlie.
Be open-minded about change. If something doesn't work out as planned, try not to get discouraged. Instead of trying hard to force what does not work into place, find another way around it, find alternatives. So it basically means that you're going through a process. You have the plans as I talk about, you wrote them out, and then you realize some hiccups and it didn't work out. Don't worry about it. Sometimes you have to fail to try again. So say, okay, how can we tweak it? How can we make it better and move forward? So trust me, it gives you energy knowing that you have a plan. You make one work, one doesn't work. Because when you have something on paper, it sounds good, but sometimes putting it into execution might be difficult. So that's fine. Just tweak it, move forward, make some changes, but work together, discuss it, and make sure that you keep talking about it every week, every month, and go through these various goals, knowing that you're working together And when you're doing it together, it makes it much more exciting.
There's just one bonus tip that I'm not sure why Charlene left it off. It was like one of my favorites, one of all the tips that we went through. And I just want to put this in just before we close, but just have fun. Have fun together. You got married because there was something special about this person. And somewhere along the line, we get busy, we get caught up with life, and we just stop having fun. We stop, you know, playing around with you. We stop being that person that you used to be running around the house and pinching each other and tickling each other. And life is already challenging and difficult for you not to sometimes just lighten the mood and just have fun with each other. Your marriage should be enjoyable and fun. So as much as you're planning, in all your planning, plan to have fun. So as it says here, remember why you got married in the first place. You love each other. In all your planning, remember that this is a gift from God. Your marriage is one of the first institution that God created and sanctified. He did it as a gift for us. Don't ever lose hope in that. Our last text as we close, it says Philippians 1:6. Let's read that for me, Charlene.
Being confident of this very thing, that he which had begun a good work in you will perform it until the day of Jesus Christ.
So God brought you together in holy matrimony and the work that he wanted to do within you, because we believe marriage wasn't just created for us to have fun and joy. There is a part of us that recently started to recognize that marriage was created, and one of the purpose of marriage is to bring you closer to God and closer to each other. And as you draw closer to God, we believe it strengthens your marriage and it gives you new perspective. And that work that God created in you, when he brought you together, he could do it even though you might be going through tough times. You might be wondering, this is the right thing to do, even if you're in the beginning and wondering if marriage is the right decision for me. God has a way of answering those questions and making sure that you're able to align your way and get to that point. So and this is our that's my last point. Any closing thought, Sean? We went
Yeah, you had fun
over time tonight.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
I was excited about
yeah,
this
you
topic.
had fun
I
tonight. You
guess you
had
could
fun
tell that.
tonight. Yes.
I just know we don't do this very often, and I know how much it made a difference in our marriage to sit and to be honest with each other and say, I want this. And maybe going into my career, you recognize that maybe this is not what I really wanted, and I want to be able to change career or change something in my life. Having your spouse support and being able to do that, it gives you a new sense of energy and purpose. What about you, Sharon?
Yeah, I just want to say that keep at it with each other. I know sometimes it seems difficult, but I always remind persons communication is so key. Sit down, talk with your spouse. Don't argue. Don't say, well, you don't talk to me. Don't start off like that. Start positive, saying, I just want to talk to you about something. And just share how you feel, share the different things and say, let's discuss how we can go forward, because we're in this together and I want to support you and I want your support. I see when I keep at this, trust me, the planning becomes easy, as I mentioned. And you'll be surprised 5 years from now, you look back and say, I can't believe how much we've grown in terms of this decision. And then you're so proud of yourself and say, yeah, we can keep at this. And when you reach all into retirement, they're hugging each other and smiling and saying, it was an exciting journey, a little roller coaster, but it was exciting.
All right. So thank you again for joining us. If you haven't liked or subscribed to our page, this is a good time to do so, so that when we post more videos or go live, that you will be notified. You could do so by going to Vivid Resolutions YouTube page and click like, subscribe, and share the feed. You could also visit our website, vividresolutions.com, and search for our previous topic. As I said, we've also posted some resources on budgeting, so you could actually go back and view that and download the guide that we would have created, and we went through how to use it, that hopefully it will be a blessing to you as it has been for us. So thank you again for joining us, and we hope to see you in our next live. We normally go live on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Yeah. All right. Okay. Send us a question if you have a comment. We'll be happy to know what is something that you want us to discuss. What is something that you would like to us to elaborate. And it's a conversation. We don't know it all, but we actually just like to share the things that we know.
So thank you everyone for viewing and have a wonderful evening.